Okay, today's notes are simplifying radicals. Throughout the notes there may be some words that you aren't familiar with. Good news is, if you're watching this, you're at a computer, so feel free to pause, Google any words that you don't know, and I think that may help you throughout. Okay, we're going to start simply, okay, simplifying the following expressions, and these are radicals. These are radical expressions. Okay, we know how to do this. We've done this before, so do this pretty quickly. Square root of 36, I simplify it. It's 6. Square root of 81, I simplify it, it's 9. Square root of 169, simplify that, that's 13. Okay, we already know that. All right, now we're going to simplify these. Okay, again, this is pretty easy. We're simplifying a radical times a radical. Well, the square root of 9 is 3 times the square root of 4, which is 2. That is equal to 6. And I want us to look at something here. Now I'm going to do the square root of 9 times 4, which is the square root of 36, which again is 6. This is going to lead us to a rule that is important. Okay, this rule is that for any non-negative numbers, you can't have negatives inside the radical, the square root of a times b is the same as the square root of a times the square root of b. So you can separate out factors, and that's going to help us simplify some radical expressions. Okay, I would write this down in your notes. When simplifying radicals, what you're trying to do is find the perfect root of all the factors of the radicand. I'm sure radicand's a word you haven't heard, but that just means the number inside the radical. Okay, so we got to find all the perfect root of all the factors in the radicand. Okay, so we're looking at the square root of 50. Now that is not a perfect square, but I can simplify it because a factor of 50 is a perfect square. So we know that the square root of 50 is the same as saying the square root of 25 times the square root of 2. Okay, we know that because, again, the square root of AB is the same as the square root of A times the square root of B. So I just pulled out two factors. Well, I know the square root of 25. Okay, it is 5. Square root of 2, that doesn't have any factors. 2 is a prime number. Okay, so the square root of 2 is just the square root of 2. So my simplified version of the square root of 50 is 5 times the square root of 2. Okay, so that's me simplifying a radical. Square root of 50 is the same as 5 times the square root of 2. Okay, let's do some more. Okay, so I'm going to simplify the square root of 28. Square root of 28 has a couple different factors. I could say 14 times 2, but 14 times 2, I'm not seeing any perfect squares in there. I could say 7 times 4, and okay, I do see a perfect square. Square root of 7, or let's go square root of 4 first. It's easier. Square root of 7. Okay, so now the square root of 4, we know that's 2. Okay, and square root of 7, there's no other factors. So 2 root 7 is what the square root of 28 is simplified. Okay, so the square root of 128. Okay, so let's think of factors of that. There's probably lots of them that we could come up with. Now, I mean, right away, I look at that and say, okay, square root of 64 times 2, especially knowing that 64 is a perfect square. So I'm going to multiply the square root of 64 times the square root of 2. Okay, square root of 64 is 8, and so then that equals 8 times the square root of 2. Okay, square root of 75. Okay, thinking of factors. Now, there's not a whole lot in 75. I see right away, okay, 25. I know 25 times 3, and 25 is a perfect square. Okay, so that simplified is 5 times the square root of 3. Okay? All right, let's do a couple more. Now we've already got one on the outside. We're kind of running out of time here, sorry. But the square root of 12, I could simplify that to the square root of 4 times the square root of 3. So the square root of 4 is 2, so I have 3 times 2 times the square root of 3. Well, 3 times 2 I know is 6, so I have 6 square root 3. Okay? And I don't think I have time to do any of the other ones. Why don't you guys try these last two, so when you come in tomorrow, you'll have those two done. Thank you.